half your audience may be black, and I'm going to tell you right now, I know half your audience have lived as an American male. They act as men. They think as men. I can tell you right now from life experience, let alone the years I put in working with federal law enforcement as an analyst and consultant, Donald Trump's never been in a fight.
But back to his question about the Army preparing for urban warfare. Is that myth, or is there any truth to that?
No, the military is right now. In fact, it's part of a paper I just published. Yes, the military is preparing for urban warfare here in America. They've been doing it for a long time. Recently, a new video was leaked under Freedom of Information Act. That video runs about maybe 12, 15 minutes. It's a lead-in to a paper that was produced by the Pentagon. Yes, urban warfare is now what the military is planning for, because at some point, and it might come under Trump, where it would never have come under Jeb Bush. It would never have happened under the power of Jeb Bush in the White House. But if Donald Trump doesn't get impeached, that only means one thing to this office. That means he's working with the very elite who have in the mix urban warfare on our soil. I've said this since 35 years ago. The only real threat to the United States government is the United States public. You and I, the citizens, we're the only threat. There's two threats. One, guns. Rebellion, guns. Second threat, capital flight. They began planning to build a wall around this country. At the same time, they began planning disregarding our currency, taking out the greenbacks, take them out of the system, and go to a strictly electronic fund transfer point of sale. They want to take all currency out of circulation. But in the meantime, since they haven't been able to do that yet, they have these little metal wires through all the new currency that's printed on a daily basis, so that if you try to take $10,000 cash out of the country, they can tell. It'll set an alarm. They know you've got the cash, and you're not going anywhere. They will take that cash from you right then, and they will say, until you prove you've paid taxes on it, the IRS gets the money. Capital flight is the only thing any government fears other than armed rebellion. And in America, they fear both. And by the way, the black man that said blacks don't matter, they're not going to do anything, you're dead wrong, brother. You are dead wrong. Because blacks and Hispanics and Mexicans join the military, the illegal aliens that Donald Trump doesn't want in. 50% are joining the United States Army. That's why we still have men in the Army. Illegal Mexicans are joining the Army, Donald. That wall was planned to be built before Donald Trump. If they build it under Donald Trump, that means they're moving up the timetable that I'm fully aware of that exists. That means there will be a currency exchange. You will have to take your cash to the bank on a Tuesday morning and turn it in. Because Tuesday morning, if it's not been turned in over the weekend, then that cash will be declared not usable. They will not allow you to have that cash.
All right, hold that thought right there, Craig. We got to take another break and check the traffic and weather in the DMV. 800-450-7876. Speak to Craig Hulet. A bunch of folks want to talk to him. Also, I got a question for Mark from Anaheim. But we'll take all your calls next after the traffic and weather update on AM 1450 and FM 95.9. WOL, where information is power.
For news that's close to home. Close to home. Listen. WOL, News Talk 1450 AM and 95.9 FM.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. Our guest is geopolitical analyst. You've heard him here before. His name is Craig Hulet. And as I mentioned, Craig's got a lot of clients in the law enforcement agencies all over this planet. Also elected officials, business folks. They all come to Craig, and or he provides them with information, which he's sharing with us now for free. Again, you got a question, 800-450-7876. Did Gregory send me a question? Mark from Anaheim sent me a question. We'll get to Mark's question momentarily. But let's go out to line 4. Ao's calling us. He's somewhere in Memphis. Ao, you're on with Craig Hulet.
Hey, thank you, Carl, for bringing in Craig. I have to admit, man, you was absolutely right when you said that he was a Goomba about 6 or 7 months ago. One. Two, I'm going to run a couple of things at you that you're going to identify with. So I'm going to hang up, then you can give me some answers. First of all, do you think that Trump's going to push the Exxon program that was put together with Russia that was going to bring $1 trillion deals into Exxon, but President Obama's administration stopped it because it meant that they was either going to have to drill in the United States or off the United States coast? One. Two, do you think that Russia seriously would consider having a, strategic nuclear war with the United States? Because literally there's a lot of footsie going on. What I mean by footsie is Donald Trump keeps talking like Russia is okay, he wouldn't mind doing business with, but yet Putin's over there talking about the United States is playing a very dangerous game, like he's seriously considering going on the war front. And my last question is, who was behind the stopping of the release of the movie Gray State? And I'll hang up and listen.
Okay, yes, Exxon will do business in Russia. Trump already did business in Russia, and I think I said this something similar to this on your show the last time we did an interview. If you want to understand Trump, because he's a private citizen, you're going to have to go to the international business news, like the Financial Times, the Times of India, the British press, the London Independent. But you have to go to the business journals throughout the world over the last 30 years. And that's the only way you'll determine, this office determined, where Trump does business and with who. It is easily discovered that way, except it's a lot of reading material that we've already done. But, that's the reason he did pick this gentleman to head up the Secretary of State. The most key element in all of this will be the lifting of sanctions that Obama put in place and Jeb Bush would have kept in place to put pressure on Russia. It's not meant to hurt Russia. It doesn't really hurt Russia. It certainly doesn't hurt Putin. But in the makeshift world of national security, those sanctions need to be lifted, and they need to be lifted by Trump. Trump is not working with Russia. Russia did not interfere with the elections. This is bogus. It started with the Obama administration, and now it's going to run rampant because Russia has to be seen by the American people as an enemy again. They have to be viewed as an enemy again, even though they're not. In 2013, Obama legalized the use of propaganda against the United States public. He signed the National Defense Authorization Act with the paragraph in there that removed Smith-Mundt Act that made it illegal for the United States government to actively propagandize its own people the way Russia or China does theirs. That's been illegal since World War II. Obama signed it into law in 2013. What you're seeing now isn't really fake news. You can stop using that. The CIA wants you scrambling around trying to figure out which news story is true and which isn't. The fact is, the only thing that matters is what the CIA is pumping out to distract you about the things that matter, which Trump not only will not do anything about, he cannot. No president has such power. You still believe that all these executive orders that he's issuing are laws. They're not. They're not laws. The progressive left is screaming and yelling that these are laws that are going to be implemented, and they know better. They're lying to you. Rachel Maddow, Naomi Wolf, what is it called? Democracy Now!, Amy Goodman. They're lying to you. Noam Chomsky's lying to the American people because the enemy can't be the government if you're a progressive leftist. You have to approve the government and make it better by becoming part of it. The left doesn't despise government. They want a seat at the table. And they are right now using the propaganda put out by the CIA through the White House and other agencies to convince you suddenly out of nowhere that Vladimir Putin is an enemy of the people of America. Vladimir Putin has only rose up and stood up against the corporate empire that I warned of in 1991 when the Soviet Union collapsed. we started taking over everywhere. Western corporations using the Pentagon started taking over North Africa, Central Africa, Asia, East Africa, everywhere our military footprint is. That's what we've been doing. And I said in 1991, because I already had the report in my hand about the 7 nations that would be taken down, that Wesley Clark finally went public and admitted happened, actually did happen, those 7 nations. I said then, you're going to go too far. We're going to get up close to the border of Russia and China, and they're going to say no. He's saying no to a global corporate empire that uses the U.S. Pentagon to further its global goals. That's the New World Order. It's already here. Putin is the only one standing up against it, and he's saying, and he does mean this, if you go, he said this, he means it. He said, America under Obama, but also Trump or anybody else, you go to war with us, we will fight you on every front. Now, if you don't understand what that means, go get a map and start reading the newspaper. Every front.
All right. He also mentioned a question about the release of the movie Gray State. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
All right. Well, we keep moving then. 800-450-7876. Line 3, Maryland's calling us from D.C. Maryland, you're on with Craig Hulet.
Hi. Thank you so much. Is there any place to leave and go to outside the United States, or is it should we stay and fight, resist? I don't.
Well, you know, look, I'm just going to say it. All right, I was born in Detroit. Most of my friends were black and Hispanic. We moved to Texas. I was hated because I was a liberal that had no problem with blacks and Hispanics. But the truth of the matter is, our family, we lived like 3 inches from the railroad tracks. All I had to do was cross the street, and that was where all the blacks and Hispanics lived. And that's where I spend most of my time. I wasn't white trash, but I could have been confused as that. But because of that, I've been fighting my whole life. All I do is fight. I love to fight. I got so good at it. Ali was my hero. He was a god to me. So I'm in it for the fight. I've been doing this almost 35 years public, just like today, all over this nation. I'm in it for the fight. They want me, they're going to have to come for me. But I'll answer your question. Right now, there's a few places you could leave. You'd have to be really smart about how you get your money out of the country because you ain't taking cash. That's called capital flight. But if you play the same game that the elite do, you can get enough money out and go to Costa Rica, Panama. There's places you can go if you've got the money, because you can't just move there and take someone's job. Americans can't go to all these countries and take someone's job. You have to move there and have enough money to support yourself, or you can go there and create a business, which I almost did once. But where are you going to go? This thing that NSA and Snowden and William Biney have talked about, it's global. They're in everybody's phone, everybody's computer. They know everything about you already. But I guess the real question would be, why do you want to leave?
Marilyn?
My concern is I have, especially gentrification and having children. There has been a frontline war here in D.C. to hold on to my property, keep my children out of their penal institutions, and it was really very distracting, non-productive, debilitating, and I'm more concerned with the young people more so than myself. I can fight, but when you are a parent, you have to look after your young ones, and I don't know if there's a safe place for them. That's been a problem for me, especially with gentrification, protecting my young, keeping them out of this system, this penal system.
Right. You're repeating yourself, Marilyn. Let me jump in here for a second. Craig, what about the folks who are moving to New Zealand, the people, the well-heeled folks that got money bags and moving to Australia and those countries? Do they know something that we don't know?
No, they know pretty much whether they understand it fully or not, they have the money, sufficient funds that they can just pack up and leave. But under Trump, I'm going to tell you, if Trump stays in office, he's going to revoke their passports. He's going to make them not be able to come back in this country. That will be the challenge to any Americans, and they will make this known publicly. They will strip you of your passport. You know, if you haven't paid your taxes, they already can strip you of your passport. The IRS will take your passport now. The point here is that if you've got money, yeah, you could do that. Okay? I could probably do that. I think I could probably do it right now, but you know what? There's something wrong with Craig Hulet. I like the fight. I live it. I breathe it. It's been with me since I was a child. I cannot stand injustice of any kind. That pits me against the white majority population, which I understand what your other guest was saying about being a minority. He's absolutely correct. But you can't lie that the white majority is pretty much running things, okay? So I've been at war with that same thing my entire life. But I understand, if you've got children, I'm going to tell you something else, okay? If they succeed in convincing the ignorant 50 million that voted for Trump that we need to go to war with Russia or China or India or I don't care who, if we go to war, they're going to institute a full-blown draft, and it won't be lottery. Every young boy and girl between the ages of 18 and 43 will be drafted, because you cannot fight any war, not even a cyber war, without boots on the ground. Anybody tells you they're going to fight a nuclear war is wrong. There will never be a nuclear war. Russia is not planning a nuclear war. No one is. It'll be a conventional war. But I really, honestly do not believe the people that run this country and think they can run the world, the corporate regime I talk about. I believe at that level, they don't care if Americans get in a war with Russians and America loses that war. They've already abandoned United States sovereignty. They've already made it legal for the Pentagon and the CIA to operate domestically. They can put the military on the ground the minute anybody believes the sheriff or the governor can't control something on his own soil. Federalism is history. Posse comitatus, dead. So they're already planning this multifaceted global warfare on the ground in the United States. It's done.
Hang on a second, Craig. We're at the top of the hour. I'll let you finish on the other side right here on AM 1450 and also FM 95.9. WOL, where information is power.
Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show
on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. So you're just getting off work. Our guest is geopolitical analyst. His name is Craig Hulet. Craig's clients include local, federal, and state officials, and also law enforcement agencies, elected officials, business folks, local and international as well. And the information he provides us today is for free, but he will charge those folks up so he can pass on the information to us. So, Craig, I'm going to let you finish what you were saying, and then Mark from Anaheim left me a question for you.
Okay. I really do. I hate that phrase Bill Clinton used to use all the time. I feel your pain. I actually am a nicer person than I tend to sound, because I really don't want to do this for a living. But this is what I happen to be good at, so I'm doing it. I should say something. There's no place to run. The head of Citibank, 15 years ago, wrote an article, the cover article for Foreign Affairs. He's a CEO bank. I can't remember his name. I think it was Walter Wriston, or I always get this name mixed up. But anyway, the name of the article was "There's No Place to Hide." There's no place to hide. With what they have planned in place, there's no place to hide. And the chaos and the violence will spread globally, because it's in the interest of them that are in control to have that happen. Putin is already at war with that corporate regime. Putin has already proposed a new common currency to be shared among all the former Soviet states to replace the U.S. dollar. BRICS is right in the face of that organization, the global corporate regime, that does, in fact, think it can rule the world. Russia and China are not part of it. India is not part of it. But the Western world is, and it's not an American empire. That's where Chomsky is a liar. He's a liar because he knows better. Why he says it is it's to keep you looking for the New World Order. It keeps you confounded that the problem is domestic here on our soil, when in fact the corporate regime has already abandoned the United States. Their own analyst, Samuel P. Huntington, calls them, his name, gold-collar workers. You and I are the blue-collar, white-collar, whatever collar. Gold-collar workers, the men who run this corporate empire, they don't live here in America. They got homes all over the world. They don't believe in national sovereignty anywhere. And Putin is already at war with that regime. But you understand the American people don't know that regime exists. So they'll make Putin look like the enemy of you and me. And they'll draft black, white, Hispanics. They'll draft all the youth and fight the war. Your children, your grandchildren will die for nothing. You'll be dying for corporate greed. They're already taking each National Guard unit in every single state, and they're sistering. That's what it's called, sistering. They're making them a sister agent to different countries, so that that country ever gets in a conflict, that National Guard unit is deployed in that country automatically. The National Guard. You want to know which nations? Guess.
Which ones?
All of the North African nations that collapsed when we took out Muammar Gaddafi. So in other words, you're sitting here as a National Guardsman, and if they're trying to drill for oil in Rwanda or find gold in Nigeria or more oil in Niger, whatever it is, and the global elite say, that's ours, and the nation state in question says, no, we want this for our own people in Africa, then we'll go to war with them. We will create a rebellion and attack that organization, whoever the leadership is. We will kill everybody if we have to. But who will be doing the shooting? United States National Guardsmen. And you have no stake in this. You'll be sent to war and die when you personally, as an American citizen, have no stake in any of this. This is as hideous as mercantilism under the British Empire. And the American people, except the ones listening right now on your show, have no idea that this is even going on. Donald Trump doesn't even know what's going on. But that's the beautiful part of Trump, isn't it? He'll say any stupid thing they want him to say because he will be rewarded. They're not going to impeach him. I believe they're going to use him. They're going to up the ante here domestically. I think they're going to increase the repression, yes, in the black community. And I don't know why that black man said what he said that was leaving the air, that the blacks, they're no threat. Are you kidding me? You know how many young black men joined the military in the last 20 years and have done 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 tours in a combat zone? You think the United States government is ignoring that fact? Let me tell you something, okay? I'm sorry I'm going to take up too much time here, but I have to say this. In 1988, George Bush Sr. became bloody head of the drug war. He declared the drug war like it was a new thing. He created the drug czar's office, all of it. I went on Arsenio Hall show, but I've been doing talk shows all over the nation, and I said 80% of the drugs are consumed by white people. 70% of the arrests are black and Hispanic. But that race war against the inner city, black and Hispanics, was not even new. What do you think was going on in Vietnam? Why did we escalate the war in Vietnam? Why don't you ask yourself, what ended when the war started? What ended here in America that was the greatest threat to the U.S. government at that time? The Civil Rights Movement, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X. That's why they escalated the war in Vietnam, instituted the draft, and they draft all the young black men that were going to join the Black Panthers, sent their butt to Vietnam. I'm going to tell you exactly what a captain told me, a white captain, when I asked him about this. We were sitting down on the flight line in Phu Bai. He said, well, Hulet, you're right. Because after they'd done a tour, or maybe 2 tours in Vietnam, they ain't going to go home and protest no more. That'll silence them forever.
And so true, that did happen. Craig, 800-450-7876. Got a bunch of folks want to talk to you. But Mark from Anaheim's in this question. General McMaster's is a, quote, a never Trump. How will that impact the Trump-Pence administration now that he is in the national security, where he is the national security advisor?
Like I said, they're going to put on Trump those that he can tolerate. It's going to be a selection process because Trump still is the president, and he likes to fire people rather than hire people. He's using the White House sort of like a reality TV show. But, yes, they're going to surround Trump with people that have the vision I just described. And most of the generals and admirals at a certain level in the Pentagon and in different places throughout the world, whether it's SOCOM or NORTHCOM, they agree that the Pentagon's job is to support this corporate regime. Because like an old friend in Bob Brown, an old friend at Soldier Fortune magazine, told me, you know, even retired and active duty generals sometimes go crazy. You need to learn that. So they'll find a general. They will find the people to help steer the Trump regime into these waters. My fear isn't what we do overseas. I already know they're going to do that, and I know Trump's going to go along with it. My only fear right now is that this war against the domestic population that has been going on against the black community since Vietnam, that they're preparing to escalate against Hispanics here in America. I believe if they up the ante, as they would put it, that means they're taking their contingency plan and they're moving it ahead. And that means there will be violence on our soil in America. It will escalate.
800-450-7876. Marilyn, I thank you for your call. Let's go to line 1. Chris is reaching out to us from Baltimore. Chris, you're on with Craig Hulet.
Good evening, gentlemen. I believe that it was known, it was done on purpose to bring the illegal immigrants over here, or the Hispanic community over here, and have them move into the communities where it's predominantly black, and then have a civil war. Because right now, me being an African American male, 35 years old, grew up in the city here in Baltimore, Maryland. I've seen the separation. Our plight versus the white man's plight versus the Hispanic plight. Our plight is different. It's unique. It's special because of our history and what we've been through as a nation of people here in America. But the liberals, the Democrats, they created this monster by allowing so many to come here and to actually capitalize on in our community, the African American communities.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. You're saying? Are you agreeing with that civil rights activist recently that said immigrants have taken blacks' jobs?
I believe that. It's evident. The people that used to do these masonry jobs that's here in Baltimore, Maryland, and all throughout the country were blacks at one time. Now,
and you look at that as a conspiracy to take black jobs? Are you serious?
It's a conspiracy to displace black people, not to just take the jobs.
Why would they even need to do that? Why would they even need to do that? The drug war has created an environment where, you know, I once read an article where somebody was...
All right, so hang on, folks, guys. We got to take a break here. We got to check the last look at the traffic and weather in the DMV, and then we'll let you continue the conversation right here on AM 1450, also FM 95.9, WOL, where information is power.
The Carl Nelson Show is here daily, 4 to 7 p.m. on WOL. News Talk 1450 AM and 95.9 FM.
And thank you for rolling with us this afternoon with our guest, geopolitical analyst Craig Hulet. Number to call to speak to Craig is 800-450-7876. Before we let for the traffic and weather update, we were speaking with Chris out in Baltimore. So, Craig, you were speaking, actually, I think. So I'm going to let you finish responding to, because Chris thinks that the Hispanics are taking away the jobs, illegal Hispanic immigrants, let me put it that way, taking away jobs from blacks in Baltimore. And I guess, Craig, it depends on where you are in this country, because I know many people in California don't feel that way, because they're not going to be picking strawberries. The folks there in Georgia ain't going to be going picking the peaches. So I guess it's where you are in the country. But I'll let you respond to Chris's concern. Thank you.
Yeah, and black people aren't going to suddenly become shrimp fishermen off the coast of Houston in the Gulf. Okay, it's going to take white people that are fishermen to take their jobs. Look, all of those things are happening in isolated areas in certain aspects. Those things do happen. But that is not what the cause is. The cause isn't that they're letting illegals in. Illegals are $1 billion industry in this country. You stop the illegals from starting businesses in America, and that is primarily what they do. They pay taxes. You're wrong. If you think they don't pay, that's a lie put out by people who want you on their team against the Hispanics coming to this country. They pay taxes. I know this because I'm part of corporations throughout the country that in certain places they can only get Hispanics to take the job. They're the only ones that will take the job. I'm not going to tell you what the job is, but you could put an ad in the paper, and we would fill the positions if any white guys or black guys show up, but they don't. They don't want that job. It's dirty. It's nasty. You work at night. It's hard. So we do hire Hispanics, and they pay taxes. We take taxes out of their paycheck, but they do not go back and try to get the refund because then the IRS will notify customs, and they'll be deported. So they don't even get the refund. But they pay taxes. They pay into unemployment. They pay into health care. It's a lie what you're being told because the government, I'll repeat, in 2013, Obama signed it into law. The Smith-Mundt Act is gone. They're going to lie to you, and nothing in the world can stop the United States government from creating the lies that you and I, as Democrats and Republicans, will fight over who's telling the truth and which is fake news. This thing about fake news is a brilliant ploy by the intelligence community against the domestic population. They can divide everybody in the nation, black against Hispanic, black against Koreans, white against black, white against Hispanics, lesbians against everybody that's heterosexual. And they can keep this fire lit all through the Trump administration and accomplish just about anything they damn well please, because we're acting ignorantly as people.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for your call. 800-450-7876. Let's go out to California on line 4. Tanisi. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. I was calling in about Pizzagate, or as some people call Pedogate. And I guess this has to do with the Podesta emails that were released back in October of 2016. And I wanted to know, is there any truth to like officials like Clinton, Obama being like, pedophiles or the spirit cooking or anything like that?
Oh, boy.
Thanks, Denise.
Because it's a hot topic on, there's a lot of investigators that are posting a lot of stuff on different websites and I wanted to know, is that true?
Did Donald Trump and Bill Clinton get on the Lolita Express with Jeffrey Epstein and fly to his Caribbean whorehouse where he supplies young boys and girls to rich people? Yes. Yes, it's true. Are there people in this country that are rich and powerful like Bryan Singer, who's one of the richest Hollywood moguls? He's a young guy. He's a director of X-Men, Usual Suspects. Did he bring young boys against their will to California so he could basically rape them? Yes, these things are true. Is it worse in England than it is in America? Maybe, but then maybe not. But I'll tell you something. This isn't happening in a vacuum either. There has been a movement in the United States going back 50 years. Actually, it goes back 100 years if you do the research right. But it's hard to pin on the current living people when you go back 100 years. But there's been a culture war that's not the culture war you hear about. The lesbian-led progressive left is pushing forward this transgender movement in such a way that it's going to almost criminalize you if you don't approve. Now, I'm a Nietzschean and an existentialist, okay? And part of being a Nietzschean is you mind your own business. So I don't let anybody mind my business. And I don't care if you're gay, lesbian. I don't care what you do with barnyard animals. It's none of my business. But your political objective, when you make it a political objective and you demand of me and my clients in America that we celebrate your deviance that you refer to as difference, you may be going too far. I'm not saying I'm going to do anything because I don't care. But don't tell me that the lesbian-led progressive left doesn't have a specific agenda that has to do with doing away with what is considered America's moral foundation, because it is the American moral foundation that they hate. And I can prove that through their own words, through my own research into this movement. So, yes, some of that's going to be true. Some of it, maybe not. I don't know if Obama was a homosexual before he met Michelle. I know there's going to be a movie coming out that make them look like Donna Reed and, I don't know, Buddy Epson. I don't know what they're doing. They're making a movie that makes the Obamas look like the only beautiful couple in America. That could he be gay? Of course. Did he use cocaine? Probably. They all do. Because at that level, when you're chosen the way Obama was chosen, Trump lived how he lived. My God, he bragged that, no, he didn't get wounded in Vietnam. He got his Purple Heart by how many times he got venereal disease. Do you realize how the system is so wrong now, morally? And I'm not a moralist, so this is bad territory for me, because I don't care. But you can't ignore certain fundamental facts of what's going on right in your face. And specifically, I'll say again, the lesbian-led progressive left. They're leading everything on that side of the aisle. And they're telling us we have to celebrate them. We have to pass laws that protect them. We have to elevate them. They are better than us. They even say, quoting Bruce Jenner, I am the new normal. Well, actually, no, you're not. Okay? Johns Hopkins University just wrote a paper, and the head of the psychiatric clinic at Johns Hopkins Hospital, they've already said, look, there are neuroses. There is neuroses. You look at gay people, you can't look at them and not address the masochism that goes along with it. And if you think you can replace America's religious, both black, white, and Hispanic, are heterosexual, driven, moral codes. Catholic, fundamentalist, Christian, Southern Baptist, okay? Well, that is the intent on that side of the aisle, to destroy that, all of that. And if you think they're not in a certain specific way after your kids, you're dead wrong.
All right.
Does it include Hollywood? I'm going to put Hollywood at probably 70% are gay and homosexual, yes. Probably 70% of Hollywood.
All right. 800-450-7876. Chris has called back, says he didn't get a chance to make his point, so we're going to give him a chance to make his point. He's calling us from Baltimore. Chris?
I don't refute that the Hispanics pay taxes and that they contribute to our country. I do not dispute that. I don't have no quarrel with my brothers and sisters from the Southern America and all, South America and all those other places. It's if I was told that, hey, in Mexico they gonna pay you to lay pipe work, do carpentry work, go plant fields, and you can live there and move there with your family and start, and this new business growth there. The country is booming. I would run there too. So I don't blame them, because it's not their fault, because of how their country has been under, again, the dictatorship of their president and how other nations are. But I don't agree with all of the tarnishing of Trump and not Obama. I mean, you have said something about Obama, but the homosexual push and all that's Obama. That was Obama. He pushed that very heavy. And nobody said anything when Obama was the president. But now Trump here, and we saying that there's no proof that he was on that plane with Jerry Epstein. There's no proof.
All right, let's give him a chance to respond, Chris. It must be a new listener, Craig, but go ahead. You can respond to Chris.
That's always the problem. Is this guy has no idea who he's talking to here. I went after Obama before he took the White House, because he was handpicked by Goldman Sachs in Chicago to be.
I'll tell you what, hold that thought. I'll let you explain to Chris about Barack Obama. As I mentioned, he must be a new listener. 800-450-7876. We've got to take a quick break. We're back with Craig Hulet right here on AM 1450 and FM 95.9. WOL, where information is power. All righty, thank you folks for rolling with us. Our guest is geopolitical analyst Craig Hulet. As I mentioned, his clients include local, federal, state law enforcement agencies, elected officials, business folks from across the globe, and he does his research for them. He charges them up, and you're getting all this information free on the radio right now. If you want to get more information, Craig will give you some information on his contact information before he leaves. But Craig, I'm going to let you finish responding to Chris in Baltimore. And he says that you sort of had a hands-off policy on Barack Obama.
I have had my entire life taken over by every single president since Reagan. I treat them all the same. I've never been a Democrat or Republican, and party politics is repugnant to me, just like it is with Friedrich Nietzsche. They're called party men, and we say that as a pejorative. We spit in our hand when we say Republican and Democrat. Obama is who Obama is. Clinton is who it was. Hillary Clinton's beard is Michelle, a beard for Obama. You know what? I don't care. I really don't care. If Obama's gay, Hillary's a lesbian, I don't care about that. What I care about is, will they bring a political agenda with them and implement policies that will put this country at war with itself? And that is the specter. That's the problem. And I know what the solution is in place to solve it. I've talked about it. In fact, I've never not talked about that on your show, Carl. There is in place systematically for the last decade and a half laws passed, laws overturned that allow the CIA and the Pentagon to operate domestically against the American people. Building a wall has always been part of that agenda, not Donald Trump, but it is not to keep Mexicans out. That's how they're going to sell it to you and to silence the American people, is say, we're going to keep Mexicans out. They're not going to be taking your jobs anymore. Well, I'll tell you what, let them build the damn wall, okay? You're not going to get a job because that's not who's taking the jobs. The jobs are being removed from America because the corporate regime does not believe in national sovereignty. Putin believes in national sovereignty. The Chinese believe in national sovereignty. But the people running America do not believe in national sovereignty. And if they build the wall, you will soon discover that it's there not to keep Mexicans or ISIS out. It's to keep you in.
800-450-7876. Let's cross the border then. Let's go to line 2. Kelvin's calling us. He's in Toronto. Kelvin, you're on with Craig.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Sure. Yeah, we can hear you. You're live.
Okay. I got two questions. They're kind of moving in a different direction, but they're the same. The first question is, what influence has Roy Cohn played with Donald Trump in terms of his whole mindset, his mentality, and all the other things? That's the first question.
Can we answer that really quick? Roy Cohn is called and was called Donald Trump's mentor. Okay. Roy Cohn said, Donald Trump has been my finest student.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
All right, second question.
Second question is, when you talk about this urban warfare, talk about Eric Prince and that group, Blackwater group, that the private military army, and what role will they play, or are they already playing a role regarding domestic policing, if you will?
Okay, domestically, they haven't played a role domestically. They're actually more of them hired, not just Blackwater and ISI, but almost every security contracting firm that are, in fact, mercenaries. They're actually doing the Pentagon job in about 50% of every deployment. We now have more of them than we have active duty military. So when Donald Trump says that they've dismantled our military and our army and he's going to build it up, he's still lying. He's still lying. Yes, it's true. We only have 475,000 troops, but we have 500,000 security contractors being paid through the State Department. Now, does Donald Trump know that? Maybe not, because Donald Trump can't read. I'm now convinced, by the way, Donald Trump doesn't read, and they keep saying there's no books in his house. He's never read a book. People that did his autobiography, Schwartz, said he doesn't read. He will not read anything. The intelligence briefings, they're saying he will not read the reports that they file with the president. By law, he's supposed to do that. He refuses to read them. He says he tweets because he can't answer questions ad hoc in the public arena. He can't answer because he doesn't know anything. And now I'm going to say something I really never wanted to say. I believe Donald Trump is, in fact, politically illiterate. Illiterate. Dumb as a box of rocks.
Wow. All right, we're going to keep moving, Craig, because we've got a bunch of folks wanting, and we're racing the clock now. Thank you, Kelvin, calling us from Toronto. 800-450-7876. Annette's waiting for us in the district. She's on line 5. Annette, you're on with Craig Hulet.
Yes, thank you, Carl. Thank you, Mr. Hewitt. I have a question regarding, I had a couple of them, but I just deal with one. In about 1993, I think I remember the price of gas was about $1.35 or less per gallon. Today it's about maybe $2.65 in Washington, D.C. or the state of Maryland. But do you believe that the prices, and we have seen it go up to $5 almost, within the last decade. Do you believe that do you think that the oil gas prices are kept artificially low to bankrupt Russia? And I'll listen off there.
Well, that's a very good question. That's not only true, it is verifiable, and it has been argued in economic journals to date. Everybody knows that. This whole thing where Saudi Arabia has artificially lowered the price to the lowest level in history of OPEC and have argued that they will keep it there as long as necessary. They're not arguing long as necessary in Saudi favor. They're not saying it's in their favor to do it. It's because OPEC is working hand in glove with this Western regime. It's not a coincidence that the countries that supply more support to terrorism is Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Kuwait, but the sanctions of Muslims coming from the 7 nations that Trump picked did not include them. And it's not just because Trump does business with them, it's because they are a part of the global regime I'm describing. They're keeping the gasoline prices low by the OPEC prices being low to try to bankrupt Russia, but not just Russia, all the domestic competition against what used to be called the Seven Sisters. Now there's only 5 sisters. If you don't know what I'm talking about, type it into your little Google box and read something. The 7 sisters are now the 5 sisters. Those 5 sisters are monopolists. The goal is that there's only one sister. And all the gasoline and all the oil will be owned by one giant conglomerate. And OPEC's in. They're in the game. So it's not only that, it's bankrupting all the efforts domestically to create oil and gas independence here in America. Now, do you believe Trump saying he wants to save America and make America great again? We'll see. Because I'll bet he doesn't do a damn thing for Exxon's competition domestically in Texas, Alaska, and Oklahoma. I'll bet he does nothing. They're folding. They're bankrupting. They're going out of business every week. That's who they're out to destroy, because this regime is a monopolistic regime. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, read a book about mercantilism. Read Adam Smith, for God's sakes. But get a clue. Competition, free enterprise, Christian values, traditional family values, all of this is to die. They want to kill all of it. It has to die because it doesn't fit in the global perspective.
All right. 800-450-7876. Brother Tyreek's calling us from Santa Monica out in L.A. on line 3. Brother Tyreek, you're on with Craig Hulet.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. Thank you, Craig, for your insight and your research. I've been saying these things for years and years, that all they're doing is divide and rule. They come up with 56 different things, 11 different things to keep people divided and distracted. Just like the black and white thing, just like the lesbian and gay thing, just like the whole, like you said, the lesbian-led left, they're doing the same thing. They keep all the movements distracted and divided. And I've been putting this out for years. We got to get off of this politics and get down to business of doing for self. If we don't want to do for self, if we don't want to do the research, then we're going to be dead, period. And they got plenty of rules for us. And the other thing is, you said it just a while ago, competition is a sin, folks. That's their motto. If you don't understand that, they're going to take us all down the same path to the grave, the way they're setting it up. Monopoly capitalism, monopoly imperialism is what is going on. General Wesley Clark, he told us on national TV they were going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, and they've done just that. And they're setting it all up for the civil war here and for the international war that's coming. It's already underway. They're sending troops to Syria. So thank you very much, Craig. I appreciate your work, and keep it on. Keep it on. I love the fight just like you. Peace and love. All
right, Terry. Thanks for your call. We got to take a quick break, Craig. So I'll let you respond to what Tariq actually said from Santa Monica. 800-450-7876 is the number to call to speak to Craig Hulet. Take your calls next, right here on AM 1450, also FM 95.9. WOL, where information is power.
For news that's close to home. Close to home. It's WOL, News Talk 1450 AM and 95.9 FM.
And thank you for staying with us. Our guest is Craig Hulet. And Craig, I think we're going to move on because Brother Tariq didn't have a question. He just sort of complimented you. We still got a bunch of folks who want to speak to you. Our guest, again, is the geopolitical analyst, Craig Hulet. As I mentioned, his clients include local, state, federal, law enforcement agencies, elected officials, business folks with international and national concerns. And, they pay him for the information he's giving you for free. But if you want more information, Craig is going to give out his contact information before he leaves. 800-450-7876, line 4, Millargo. He's calling us from Silver Spring, right outside the studio here. Millargo?
Hi, how are you? Again, thank you very much for taking my call 2 days in a row. Your guest is on target. I am shocked, and I shouldn't be, because I'm an attorney, and I like the battle like he does. I deal with people who have been wrongfully accused. I'm going to go back to a caller who tried to act as if my culture, I have two. I'm an Afro-Cuban. My mother's from Angola, but I look like anybody with a nappy head. I was shocked because when I was a kid in Miami after the revolution, I was considered too cute. I thought I was too fine. My hair was too good, but the men loved me and the women hated me. Yeah. They didn't know what was in my
I have the same problem, but that's not
because, my father was a freedom fighter. He fought with Fidel. My uncle went to Africa, to Ethiopia, to Congo, to Namibia, and to South Africa. We left our blood there for our people. So, poo-poo to you, dude. All right. My question for the gentleman, he has made everything so clear, and I'm so proud of him. Tell me about Steve Bannon. Now, I'm going to tell you why. When I took my bar, I took it in Havana. I went to law school in Havana. When I got back, America said, oh, hell no. Made me go to the University of Massachusetts. Okay. Steve Bannon was there at Harvard at that time. Talk to me about that, who I want to quote and say devil. And I'm going to hang up and listen, and thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, some people would say Steve Bannon's presence on the National Security Council is not just terrible, it's illegal. And I think there are going to be some people pursuing that line of questioning. What's interesting about Steve Bannon, not just Breitbart and his conservative views, he's actually stated in the international press that he's a Leninist. Now, what he's doing when he says that is he's saying things to shock the interviewee and the people listening so you'll pay attention to him. This is about getting attention. This is a lot about Trump and Bannon is about attention. They can't live without being in front of a camera because they're mentally ill. There's something wrong with them. But Bannon is a special breed of mentally ill. He thinks that Donald Trump and him together, if they do this thing right, that they can overturn all dissent here in America by force. And there's a reason why he's saying that. Let me give you a very interesting thing. Remember when Donald Trump and the inauguration was taking place, there were protesters. Some of them got violent because pro-Trump attacked anti-Trumpers and stuff. But those people that were arrested, they received felony riot charges. A felony riot charge is something new. Before Trump, it was Obama under the National Defense Authorization Act again. And by the way, 2-3 times a year, there'll be a National Defense Authorization Act, 700, 800, 900 pages. Buy one and read it cover to cover. That's where you're going to find some of the truly evil policies of this regime. Obama used that to pass a law that made it illegal for any American to protest within 300 yards of any American politician or official who receives Secret Service protection. The lesbian-led progressive left said nothing when Obama did it. They said nothing. I'm the one that went public. Me and some they call us all radical right-wingers. We're the ones who went public and denounced this. And I said, this law is being put in place for Obama, right? Wrong. This law is being put in place for the future because the people who run this country, they know where they're going. They know where it's going to end up. And they know that young black men that have served 4 or 5 tours in the Middle East will come home and there will be no jobs. Not because Mexicans are taking them, because the corporations don't want Americans to work. They want to bring America to its knees. So we're just another cog in the corporate wheel. Otherwise, if we stay free enterprise stays alive, if people remain revolutionary in their heart, in their mind, independent, free, powerful, armed, yes, armed if necessary, then there's always a chance we'll take the country back. There's always a chance that those people, blacks, Hispanics, Asian, and white trash like me, will all get together and they'll say, Craig, show us how to use an M16 properly. And I'll say, all right, I will. That's the threat. We're the threat. And the progressive left is assisting in that threat because this was the first use of the Obama law that you cannot legally protest within 300 feet of any American official or anybody else that receives Secret Service protection. Obama passed it. Nobody argued it. Now that Trump's used it, watch. Now when Rachel Maddow hears what Craig Hewlett just said, you watch. Rachel Maddow will touch this. But she will not blame Obama. She'll only talk about Trump.
All right. 800-450-7876, line 1. Juma in the district. Juma, you're on with Craig Hewlett.
Pretty good. Thank you, Carl, for taking my call. Brother Hewlett, I just have a couple points I just want to go back and touch on. First, you mentioned the building of the wall and keeping Americans in. But as we know now, the displacement of the immigrants is the first step in their plan. The second step, what would be the purpose, in your opinion, of keeping Americans in, where in the inner cities now, they're shifting all of, whether you're black, white, brown, you're shifting all the people out of the inner cities and pricing them out in terms of property values. So what would be the purpose of continuously keeping Americans in? And I do understand when you go, they can strip your passport. I understand that. But what is the major purpose of having a plan?
Because they do not want an independent, free nation of people. I don't know if you understand the language I'm trying to use. I did nothing but study Che Guevara, Fidel, Mao. I've studied guerrilla warfare. I've written papers on it. It's in my book. Everything I do is intellectual guerrilla warfare. We are the unacceptables. We're the ones that can pose a problem. Do you realize only 2% of the American people, if we got together, 2%, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, male, female, gay, lesbian, I don't care. If enough of us, just 2% got together, we could stop this government in its tracks. Do you think we couldn't go guerrilla? Somebody in the progressive left once argued with me on Pacifica Radio. He was completely consumed by the lesbian doctrine that I was a right-wing conspiracy theorist not allowed to speak. Well, he got on the air with me, and he said, Hewlett, you talking about revolution in America? How is America going to revolt against this powerful organization you're describing with the Pentagon? They got F-16s, cruise missiles, and he went on and on, denigrating me for my analysis. And at the end of my analysis, I said this: Afghanistan.
All right, Jimmy, you have a second question?
Yeah, I have another question. I agree with that point. Thank you for making clarity on that, Brother Hewlett. But the second, I respectfully disagree on one of the previous callers where they mentioned that the purpose of the low oil prices is to bankrupt Russia, and Russia's in a conglomerate. Their markets extend beyond American borders. So, and the corporate elite in Russia are in the bed. Tillery, he's in meetings with Putin. So I believe that the market sets the commodity prices set by the market, supply and demand.
Oh, good heavens!
Elaborate on it a little further, please.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Carl.
It's good that he said that. because it tells me there's still people out there, blacks and whites and Hispanics. There's still people out there, even the occasional lesbian maybe. I know because I have one as a client. The market forces do not control or govern anything any longer. Those that keep you believing that there's a free enterprise system are people who have never started a company in America and tried to make it work. That's exactly who I am. I've never not owned a company, even when I was employed by the United States Army, even when I was employed by a congressman, or I was working with the ATF or the DEA. I have done nothing but own corporations. I help people start corporations and businesses for themselves. And most of my fight with the successful ones are to keep the monopoly corporations from destroying their competition, my clients. So I get to wade in and fight companies like Exxon, Weyerhaeuser. Those are the enemies. Craig Hulet fights on behalf of my clients. I used to work for them. They used to pay me. Now people pay me to fight them because there is no such thing as free enterprise in America. And they are trying to use OPEC to crush the forces that deploy the oil and the gasoline and the natural gas coming out of Russia. You're wrong if you think it can't be successful, because the only way to stop this, in my opinion, may be Putin laying down the law and we end up in a ground war in the Ukraine, the Black Sea. But I'll repeat, if that happens, Putin has already said, I will fight you on every front.
All right, 800-450-7876. JR in D.C. on line 2. JR, can you make it quick for us?
Yes, thank you for taking my call, Fred. Fred, thank you for having you. My question to you is, why were you shaking the bushes on both sides of the fence when you were working in the campaign that you were working in? And yes, the Hispanics were brought to this country to take jobs from black people. It wasn't a problem for white America until the financial crash happened. Then the white men having to go to the construction jobs with less skilled, competing with the Hispanics, all of a sudden is a problem. So that's what I wanted to ask you.
All right, because we're almost out of time. Craig, you want to answer that question? I know you've answered it before.
Let me answer it this way. Of the 100 largest economies in the world, 51 are multinational corporations, most of them American, but Western. They're larger than countries' economies. Second, 45% of all international trade is between GM of Detroit, GM of Bonn, Germany. Almost 50% of all international trade is inter-corporate trade. When Trump says he's going to build a wall and he's going to tax goods coming in from Mexico, he will be taxing U.S. corporations that are operating the maquiladoras in Mexico.
Craig, we're flat out of time. Tell folks how they can reach you.
CraigBHewitt.com.
All right, thanks, Craig. Folks, we're out of time. We got to get out of here. Stay strong, stay positive, stay in the light. See you tomorrow right here on AM 1450 and FM 95.9. WOL, where information is power.